So let's begin with the Excel match function. The summary of Excel match function is that match is an Excel function used to locate the position a lookup value either in a row, column, or a table. So basically, when we apply match function in Microsoft Excel, it returns as a number, and a number of a positioning where we need to identify the reference. So basically, we can match can also be applied with the help of the wildcards. We can use the asterisk or the question mark for the partial matches. But remember, when we will be learning the syntax of the match, we need to identify that which type of match we need to do, either in the exact match or its approximate match. So with the exact match, we can use the wildcards, and I will show you the example in next few slides. So often the index function is combined with the match function to retrieve the value at the position returned by match. This that match just give us the position, but to get the output, we need to nest the index function with the match altogether. So the first thing about the match function is that what is the purpose of this function? The purpose of this function is to get the position from an item in an array. The return value, definitely it will give you a number from a position in a lookup array. The syntax of match function is we write with whenever we write any Excel function or a formula, we start with an equal sign, then the name of the function. Then you can see there are three function arguments within the match function. The first one is lookup value, then lookup array, and the match type. And if you can see that the match type is with the square brackets, this means this function argument is optional. And I will tell you that if you skip this optional argument, what will happen later on. So there are three arguments, right? The first one is the lookup value. The value to match in lookup value. Okay, we have a necessary information that we need to match in an array. Lookup array is the range of cells or array reference. We can use the name ranges as well. And the match type, we have three different match types. So I just told you that we have need to particular define the what kind of match type we will be using. So the first is the one, which is the exact or next smallest. Okay, that is by default. The second is the zero. Zero is used for the exact match. I hope that most of you have applied the VLOOKUP in your spreadsheets, and in the VLOOKUP we have seen and observed that we have the last argument, that is either we use true and false. But in the match function we have three types: exact match, one is used for the exact or next smallest, and -1 is used for the exact or the next largest. And I will show you in the example that how these different match types can be utilized in practice. So the match type information can be that match type is optional, it's not provided, and match types defaults is 1. If you skip this argument, its default set to the 1, and we need to identify that which kind of match type we need to use later on. So now this is one of the very most important point we need to understand first. The one is used for the exact match or the next smallest value. For ascending, we need to sort our data into the ascending order if we need to use the one. Zero is used for the exact match only. Okay, so there I can see the chat window. If my screen is visible to the participants and my voice is coming, kindly write yes so that I can proceed further. Okay, yes, there are a lot of yes are coming, so that means that if you are not seeing my screen or there is a voice distraction, this means that your internet connection is weak. So I suggest that make sure that internet connection is minimum 2 MB so you can see smooth conference or regarding my voice and the screen as well. So definitely there are a lot of yes. This means that this webinar is going smoothly. That's fantastic. So I was telling you that there are three different kind of match types. If you use one, so you need to sort your data into an ascending order. If you are using 0 for the exact match, so that does not need data to be sorted. And -1, if you're using -1, you have to sort your data into a descending order. Now, why we are doing that is, I will tell you the practical example. When we don't have some exact matches, we need to identify that either we do ascending order approximate match or the descending order match. So we use one or minus. In the very first example, if you can see that, it's a very basic example we are starting. So for those of you who are learning for the very first time, this function can understand this very easily. We have a list of planets, right? And we need to find the position of Mars, right? We need to find the position of Mars, that in this list, on which position the Mars is located. So we can see that the Mercury is on the first, then the Venus, Earth, and the Mars. So the match function we have utilized, you can see in the formula bar of this screenshot, that equals to match E2 is the value we need to, which is the lookup value. B3 to B11 is the array. We need to find the Mars in this array, and it returns a number which is 4. So it's giving us the positioning of that particular information from that array. Okay, kindly mute your mics, please. Thank you. Kindly mute your mics, please. Thank you. Okay, so the next example is, if there is no voice, kindly try to अगर जिन लोगों को आवाज नहीं आ रही, वो बता दें. अगर आवाज आ रही है तो kindly write yes, so that the problem can be identified.
आपका कौन सा है?
Yes, the voice. Yes, the voice is coming. Please check at your end. Thank you. So the voice is coming, and kindly mute your mic so that the distraction can be very less. Okay. Okay, fantastic. So I was discussing the second example about the match function. So in this example, you can see that we have a list of values, right? And we need to look up the 575 from the data. So the result is giving us the 5, that 575 is located at the 5th position. Now, you can see that the data is sorted. Number one, the data is sorted into an ascending order, smallest to largest. That's why we are using the 1 here. So the data is sorted, smallest to largest. We are using 1 here. And we know that it will do the approximate match, and it will definitely stop at 1 point ahead, which is the 500, and this 500 is located at the 5th position. So this is one of the very basic example. Okay, the next example is how we can use the wildcard by using the match function. For example, if we need to find out a value which contains PQ in a cell, we don't know the exact value, but we know the PQ is there, and we have used the asterisk sign, as you can see here. Now we need to look up this particular value in these list of codes. So we can use the wildcard, but remember, when you use wildcards, you need to use the 0 at the end, because the wildcards will work with the exact match. Okay. So some of the very important points is are, first thing is that the match is not case sensitive. Okay. And the second point is that the match returns the NA error if match is not found. That's technically okay. It also happens with the VLOOKUP as well. When we don't find any data, it returns the NA. Match only works with text up to 250 characters in length, which is very right. In case of duplicates, match will return the first match. Now, this is the problem, that if we have a duplicates list, we will be not identifying the second value. Please mute your mics. It's a request. It's a live webinar, and we don't encourage the personal chats. Please mute your mic. Thank you. So in case of duplicates, the match returns the first match. So we will see in the later on examples that how we can sort this kind of issues if we have the duplicates case. Okay. Next, if the match type you are using -1 or 1 for the approximate match, your lookup array must be sorted, okay, which we have discussed earlier on. And if the match type is 0, you can use the wildcards with that. And the match function is frequently used with the index function together. Remember that the match and index will come together. Okay. Now the index function. And after discussion with the technical side of the index function, we will come to the practical aspects that how we can apply the index and match, and you will enjoy the session throughout these 2 hours. So stay tuned and stay connected and focused, please. So the Excel index function gives you an output. First, you identify the positioning of that particular output, which match function helps you, and then with the match function, the combination of index gives you that output. As you can see in this example, that we are finding the 143 km, which is from the third column and the fifth row, and we have used the 5 and 3 manually here, if you can see there. But we don't write the hard-coded numbers within the index. We will be using the match combination. Okay. So the purpose of the index function is to get a value in a list or a table based on location. So location will be identified by the match function, and the value will be given by the index function. So definitely a return value will be that given a specific data from that location. The syntax of the index is, first we define the array. Okay. Then raw number and column number. Column number and area numbers are the optional because it has a square bracket. But definitely, with identifying the raw number and the column number, we utilize match practically more. Okay. So the arguments explanation will go like that. This array means a range of cells or an array constant. Raw number, the raw position in a reference or array. Column number, which is the optional. The column position in the reference. All right. So let's get to the practical hands-on on different kind of index and match example. Now, first I will start with a concept that is called the name range, because might be possible that some of the participant does not know how the name range can be used or utilized in Microsoft Excel. Because I will be using in my entire session that different kind of name ranges with the index, match, and the offset function. So first, let me tell you that how the name ranges can be created in Microsoft Excel, what are their advantages, and then we will be jump to the index and match utilization. Okay. Just to make sure the confirmation one more time, if my screen is visible to you and my voice is clear, kindly write yes in the chat window, please. That's great. That's great. Superb, superb. Thank you so much. So now, first, you need to understand the concept of the name range. Now, as an Excel user, you know that uh, every cell has a reference. And if I ask you that at this point of time, on which cell I am, what is my active cell, which is my active cell, you will say that you are on C4, right? Yes, you are very right. I am on C4. But what if I need to change the name of a cell? So there are different kind of techniques in Microsoft Excel to identify and to rename, add it, and delete the name ranges. Is if I want particularly to rename a cell, I will go to the name box, which is on the left side. I just selected the name of this reference and I will write, for example, my name. Okay. So I just rename my C4 cell as Rahim. And we can do with the certain kind of arrays in Excel spreadsheet as well. For example, I have selected an array and I want to give a name to this array. So what I can do is I can just go to the name box again and I can write another name, which is, let's, for example, Cheyenne. Okay. And particularly you can create as many as name ranges you want, and you can utilize these name ranges later on within this Excel workbook scope. with the different functions utilities. So okay, so let me just give one more name. So after giving certain arrays different name ranges, how we can remember those all those name ranges which we have given? So you don't need to remember any name ranges. What you can do is you can go to the name box, click on the arrow, and you can see there is a list of names which we just defined. Okay, and when we click on any name range, Excel will make you to go to that particular range. And if you later on you want to add it or delete that name range, you can go to the formulas tab. Okay, and then in the formulas you have to click on name manager. So when you click on name manager window will appear, and here you can see a list of names because you have defined different name ranges within that particular workbook, and you can utilize in different Excel functions. There is one more technique to get all the name ranges within your Excel workbook. Is you have a shortcut key which is F3. So when you press the F3 key, you will have the paste name window, and when you click on paste list button, so all the name ranges has been listed down by the Microsoft Excel, that which kind of name ranges you have created here and where are those. And there is a one more cool technique to get through the name ranges is, as you know that when you open Microsoft Excel, you have your window is at 100% zoom option. So there is on the bottom right side, there is a zoom option. You can increase or decrease the window zoom options. So here, if you type 39 or less than 39, so Microsoft Excel has the utility that it will show you the name ranges you have created within your Excel workbook. So if you make your zoom option, spreadsheet zoom option to less than 39%, it can be 39 or it can be 35. So you can identify where your name ranges are located. Okay. So let me get back to this 100%. So now the advantage of name ranges, for example, if I have some numbers and I need to total that these numbers, so I can use the sum function and I need to go to that particular data to select first, and then I can finish my function that gives me an output. But what if I just select this data and define a name for that particular range, for example, Pakistan. So now if I am using a function, either it's a sum or average or max or min, I don't need to again select that range. I have given that name, which is the Pakistan, as you can see here, and I will just press tab key, and you can see here that this is the name range utility that you can utilize it by not going again and again to the data. You can directly call data within the function. Okay, so this is how the name ranges are being utilized. Okay, so let's get back to the first example of index and match. Okay, let me see the chat screen. So Gaurav Mahajan has an issue, no share screen showing. So those participants who can see my screen can kindly write yes, so that Gaurav can have this identified issue. So Gaurav, you need to check at your end, please. Okay. Uh, Gaurav, please check, or you can sign out and re-log in again for the session, because there is a lot of feedback is coming that my voice and my screen is absolutely clear. Thank you so much for the feedback. Let's get to the first example of index and match. So I have the two sheets here. The first one is the source, where I have the user ID, employee number, and the amount, and then I have a target sheet. And here I need to fetch the data, okay, from the index and match. So how we can do that? But let's say if I just started using, for example, if I write any employee number here, for example 101014, and what I need to do is I need to look up, as you are aware of the VLOOKUP. If I will use the VLOOKUP and I want to ask a question from you, if I am using the VLOOKUP here, my lookup value is D5. My table array is that particular name array of cells within a different spreadsheet, and the output cell, I want the user ID, which is in the column 1. Okay, so now, and for the exact match, for example, if the user ID is exact match, so it's giving me a value. If you are using the exact match within the VLOOKUP, it will not identify that coming output, because VLOOKUP runs from left to right. Okay, so for the VLOOKUP, it's left to right. And for the index and match, it can be any positioning from right to left or from left to right. Okay, so in these kind of scenarios, we will be using index and match. But how? For example, let me show you first the index. If I need to identify the position of this employee number, I'm using match function. So the lookup value is in F4. Lookup array will be the employee number column. Okay, and I will be using the exact match. So I will write 0 here. So this gives me a 6. So basically, match function returns the position of that particular item which is being presented in that particular array. So 101014 is it present at the 6th position, because it's also counting the title as well. If I just start from this particular row, which is the 3, then it will return 5. Okay, but I need to get the user ID from this 5th location. Let me just highlight this cell. From this 5th location, which is being identified by the match function, I need to get this user ID. So I will be using the index and match all together. So how? Equals to index, bracket open. First, we need to define the array. Now, in this particular function, the array does not means to select the entire database. Remember that if you have used VLOOKUP earlier, so you have been practicing that in the table array you used to define or selecting the entire database. But in the index, we need to only select those ranges in which we have that output. Okay, we don't need to select the entire database. So here the array means we need to select only the user ID column, because our output is in the user ID. And now, on which position this employee number is located, for that, in the raw number of the function argument within the index function, we need to use the match function. So we will telling match that locate this employee number within this employee number column lookup array and exact match. So you can see that from this 5th location of employee number 101014, we got our desired result back from right to left. Instead of left to right, we got our output from right to left, and we got the user ID, that is 1556. So always there is a combination of index and match comes together. So match basically identifies the position first, and then from that position we tell the index function to give output from any particular column, array, or the table. Okay, so I hope this first example is clear to you. So any feedback in the chat window, please do so. Okay, Shakil, we have 3 more examples with the index function. So let's proceed to the next example so that you can again understand the index and match. Okay, so there are some of the very good feedbacks coming all around. Okay, Muhammad Ali is saying, so VLOOKUP only finds from left to right, but match does this from any side. Yes, exactly. Index and match combination can go to any side, either from left to right or up and down. And the more dynamic function is also the offset function as well. Now, let's go to the next intermediate and advanced examples, and I will try my level best to make sure that you can understand it easily. So once again, a very quick feedback I want you from guys that if you can see my screen and my voice is audible, clear, kindly write yes in the chat window so that we can proceed now. Okay, that's great, fine. Thank you for the feedback. Let's go to the next example and kindly focus on this example. So now here I have one income statement, okay, and we have a certain number of years within the column. We have each year representing in a column, and the line items information is in the row. So we have an income statement, a very small, primarily basic kind of a income statement in a separate sheet, and then we have a summary sheet where we need to locate the values. So in the summary sheet, we need to find out some of the particular information from that P&L. So we need to identify that how we can fetch the records from the index and match to get the information for the particular years 2013, 14, and 16 for the sales, net interest, and the net income. Now we can utilize we will be not utilizing the VLOOKUP now. We will be a kind of a practice from ongoing forwards at our workplaces that we will be utilizing index and match to get these kind of information. So how we can do that? Now the first thing is that if I start writing index here, now what I need to do is I need to select the array. Now it becomes very complex when I need to switch between the two spreadsheets again and again, and then coming back to the again a different sheet. It creates a lot of distraction problems and a very complexity within the Excel functions to understand that basically what is happening. Now this is not the best practice. What the first initial step is, we need to give the ranges names, and we will be utilizing those names within primarily in the index and match function so that we can understand the function easily, and we will minimizing our mistakes when we do in the real practical examples. So the first thing is that in this PNL, I will be giving the name ranges so that I can use later on within the index and match function, and I don't need to come back again and again. Okay. So the first most thing is that I will be selecting this range. Now, this particular array is an array of index because within this particular array, we have output. And these line items and the number of years will be working as a position number to fetch the result. For example, very basic example, uh, if we want gross profit for the year 2015, so the gross profit is here. Let me highlight this. In 2015 is on column E, and our desired result is on cell E4. So the yellow cell will be done by the index. Okay, the orange cell position will be done by match function. So now I hope I am clear that if I need to get this 514 as an output, index will help me. But 514 is located on these two particular position, column wise and row wise. So these two intersecting points will be identified by the match function. Okay. So first I need to select this array because this particular array will be my the array of the index where I need the output. So I select this array and I will give a name. Let's example, for example, if you can give any name, but remember that in the name ranges you cannot use the space. It will not create a name range. Okay. So I have given a name which is called the output. Then I selected the line items. Okay, then I selected the line items and I have given the name in the name box, which is called the line items. And for the years, I have selected the first row, which represents a number of years column wise, and I will give a name to it, which is the years. Make sure that the name ranges, the names you provide should be meaningful, because you need to use that later on with the different functions. So the name should be the meaningful. Okay. And if you forget the names, you can later on call with the F3 function and you can utilize this. So you don't need to remember any name range. Just press the F3 and you can get the desired name and you can utilize within the index and match function. So now let's start. Index. So the first argument is the array. Now the array is from which we need to get the output, and we have defined that name range, which is called the output. Okay. So now this becomes very easy for me, that I don't need to go again to that data and then select that entire data and come back to this sheet. All those steps have been minimized and there is a very less chance of doing the mistakes. So now the index, within this we have used the output, which will be the giving us a value from that particular position. Now for the positioning of the raw number, first we need to use the match function. So we will be telling Excel match function is we need to search sales. Where we need to search sales, we have defined the name range within the line items. That will be the exact match. So we are writing 0 here and we close the bracket. Now the last argument, which is the column number, because we need to also fill the column number, because our P&L has been has a different years column wise. So again, we need to locate the year position as well. So we are writing another match within the index function. So B5 contains the year, which is 31st December 2013. Now this year will be finding in the range which is called years, and that will be an exact match. So we will be writing 0 here. Okay. And remember that you need to use the mixed referencing, because once you finish this function and you will copy this function downwards and the rightwards, you need to get the correct outputs, otherwise you will be confused in NA values. So now you can see that within the index and applying two match function, the first match function is retrieving the position of raw, and the second match function is retrieving the position of the column, and from that particular matrix the index is giving us the output from an array. Okay. And later on, for example, if I change the title, for example, I don't need the net interest, I need the text. So when I write the text here, you can see that your amount has been changed automatically. And if I change any year, so you can see that very smoothly index and match can gives you a dynamic kind of a results. Okay. So this was the example number 2. All right. Let's, if you have understood this example, kindly write yes in the chat window so that we have feedback. Okay, that's great. Okay, I have given the, I have utilized the 3 name ranges. For the name ranges, you have to go to the formulas, click on the name ranges, and here you can just define the name ranges. And in the P&L sheet, I have given 3 different arrays to 3 different names, because I need to utilize them in the index and the match function. So thank you so much for the feedback in the chat window. Let's proceed to the third example and the fourth example, and definitely you will enjoy the this session with the practical examples more. Let's proceed to the third example. All right. So now here again you have a kind of a P&L, small P&L, and you have three different situations. Now the company is basically working on three different situations. So they have just prepared a P&L based on default present year, and they need to forecast for the next 5 years where we will be going. So they have prepared three different scenarios. The base, which is the 6% growth every year. For the best scenario of the sales growth, they have prepared the 10% growth rate every year. For the worst case scenario, if happens, so there is a 1% growth rate every year. And we will be fetching these different kind of scenario based percentages to this yellow highlighted raw, okay, by the help of index and match. So for utilizing index and match, what you can do is I will be taking a help from an extra column or cells, and I will be writing 1, 2, and 3. Why I am writing 1, 2, and 3? Because for the base scenario, I have used the 1, which is the first situation, then based for the second, and worst is the third. And I will be utilizing the index and match. Now you can see that equals to index bracket open. Now this particular array means you need to select only those cells in which you have that output. So we know that we need output from this particular data set, from this range from D5 to D7. And from which row? Because at one at a time, we will be using one particular sales growth scenario. We will be not using all the scenarios together. So definitely each scenario is located at a different positioning raw number. So here we will be utilizing the match. Okay, lookup value. We will be using this cell, which is the C4, and in the C4 there is a 2 written. So we will be locating the second position, and let me make this cell as an absolute. I hope you all understood what are the absolute cells, what mean by the dollar sign, because these concepts are very primarily within the Excel users, and without dollar signs, I hope you all understand these kind of technical issues and the concepts. So coming back to the match function, what I'm doing is I'm finding the second position from a list of numbers which is defined here, and that will be exact match. So I'm writing 0, and I will drag down to the right side so that all my particular years get the percentage. And now you can see that at the bottom your PNL just got changed. So from the top cell, which is the C4, if I change the number, the scenario will change. For example, if I write 1 here, you can see that the index and match functions retrieving the values from the first row, and it's giving me a 6%. When I write 3 here, the index and match functions retrieving value from the third row, which represent the worst case. Okay, so this is how you can use the index and match in your P&L statements, in your financial models, to make it more dynamic and run smooth. And let me tell you one more technique. For example, some of you will tell that this 1, 2, and 3 is visible, is presently visible on my Excel cells, and I need to hide them. So there is a very cool technique to hide the numbers or the text from the cells temporarily. So for doing that, what you can do is selected this range, right click, and in this contextual menu, you have a format cells, and then you have this custom category, and all write 3 times semicolon. Now, for those of you who are very new to this concept, now the 3 semicolons means, because particularly in this format cells custom section, we have 4 sections: positives, negatives, 0, and general. So switch between the sections, we use semicolons, and what these 3 semicolons means that we don't need any kind of formatting, visibility of any kind of number, either it's a positive number or a negative number or a 0. So by adding 3 semicolons in the custom formatting, the temporarily the values within the cell gets disappear. It's basically on the within the cell, but it's not visible with the naked eyes. So you can hide the values with these kind of techniques, and later on when you change the position, you can see that the PNL is changing, and one by one with the help of index and match function we can get the scenario and our PNL is being updated, right? So if you have clear with this example, kindly write your feedback in the chat window, please. Okay, one more thing is that do not worry about these Excel files. What I will be doing is after this session ends and the recording is available, I will post on this entire webinar on my YouTube channel, which is Excel Basement, and I will email you the entire presentation and the files for your practice. Do practice, do come up with the feedback on my email, which is excelbasement@gmail.com, and I will be giving you the support that how to solve. But what I need from you people at this point of time is to sit back, relax, and understand the concepts. For your practice, I will be giving you the files, so do not worry about that. Okay, please. And for those of you who have joined just now, I am giving you certain instructions in your chat window. Okay. So let's proceed to the example number 4. Now that's one of the very interesting scenario, and we will be learning a lot in this example. And I will tell you 2-3 different things, and then we will be switching to the offset function. So if you can see the data here, we have a list of company names and respective amounts, and we need to fetch the amount which is for the UBL. And now one thing you can understand from this data is there are duplicates. So now we will be learning that how you can settle down this issue if you find the duplicates from your primary column. So if you have the duplicates within your primary column, how you can set those and how you can come up with this limitation within the index and match. So now, for example, if I apply index and match, so within the index, we have an array. Now this array represents the output range, which is the amount column from C11 till C4 till C11. And then we need to find out the UBL positioning, and from that positioning we will be getting our desired amount. So match the UBL, which is an E4, and the lookup array, which is the company name list from B4 to B11, and we will be using the exact match here. Okay, so now you can see here we got 2728. When I drag down, it gives me the same number 2728 rather than giving me this particular number, which is a different number, right? So there is a limitation, is it will return the first value, but we have the duplicates in our primary column and we need a different amount by the UBL in that data set. So how we can overcome with this issue, now I am going to explain this issue. Okay, so now you need a column which does not have the duplicates. Okay, and to make a primary column which does not contains a duplicates, we will be using the ampersand sign and the countIF function. So first let me apply the countIF function. This particular countIF function returns me the number and counting based on the criteria that UBL is comes one time at the beginning of the data. And as you can see that the countIF generates 2 here because now this UBL has come second time in this data set. And again, if you can see in the A11, the count if function generates 3 because this particular UBL has come the third time in this data set. So basically this count if technique is generating and counting the occurrence of that particular name presented in the array. So this countif function is basically giving you a value depending on the occurrence of that particular value within the array. Okay. And also, because to make this column unique, we will be joining the name of the company, which is B4, and we will be using the ampersand sign. So now you can see that I have used the countif function and also joining it with the company name so that I can have one more column which contains no duplicates. So we got our primary key column which contains no duplicates, and this column will help us out to get the different values here. Okay, so now how we can do that, let me explain you. Now this is a bit tricky, and can you tell me in the chat window, do you know any function who can create a serial numbers? Do you know the name of a function which creates serial numbers in Microsoft Excel? Any idea? Random function does not create a serial number. We are talking about the serial numbers, right? Yes, we have a function which is called the raw and raws, and to create a serial number with the help of a function, uh, we need to use the raws function. Okay, but before going to that particular function, let me tell you the manual thing, and then I will cover that manual thing within a function. Okay, we will be using the raws function, so to generate the serial numbers. Okay, so how we can do that? If I'm using index, in the index array we have the range of an amount column which will be the output. Then within the match function, I'm using one ampersand sign and E4. E4 represents the name of the company. So by reading it technically, this particular portion means one UBL. One ampersand E4 means one UBL. Okay. So search this value in this combo array, which is the column A from A4 to A11, and do the exact match. So for doing that, I'm writing 0 here. Now what happens? Does it finds UBL? What is the mistake here? Can anyone tell me what is the mistake here? It's giving me NA. Very good, Adnan. Adnan has picked the right one. That first, and yes, Akbar, very good. E4 and then right. Yes, very good, very good. That's good. We need definitely this particular is defining one UBL, whereas one UBL is not here. Here we have UBL1. So we need to care of that. For finding out the value, we have used the correct sequence. Otherwise, the value will not be fetched. So here I will use the company name first and then 1. And then it gives me an output. But what if I drag this output, it is still giving me 2728, 2728, whereas our outputs are 359 and 3665. So now I need to technically change this 1 into 2 because I want the second value of this company. Now it's get updated. Now here, instead of 1, I need to write 3 here. That's manual. So that's being updated. So if there are a lot of values, for example 10 values, 15 values, and I have no time that I need to change it going to every cell and editing this manually. So replacing this hard-coded value into a function, we will be using the ROS function. Okay. So now let's understand what the ROS function does for us. So first, let me tell you the fundamental, how the ROS functions can generate the serial numbers. So equal to ROS bracket open, I am picking any cell. You can pick any cell. Doesn't matter that cell has a data or that has an empty cell. It can be any cell of your choice. So for example, if I am picking up R4, I will write column, colon, and then R4 again. And I will make first cell absolute. And then I will drag this downwards. So you have observed that the ROS functions is particularly generating a serial numbers. But how it is doing? It's very simple. This specific range has only one row because the range is starting from R4 and ending at R4. This means in this range we have only one row. When this function moves downwards, definitely if you have the concept of absolute and relative references, you know that very well that the R4 at the right side will change into R5. So this means my range is dynamic. The first point is fixed, absolute, and the second is relative. So by copying and pasting downwards, what ROS function is doing is it's searching for the number of rows within this particular range and giving us the total output as a value. So if you can see here, equal to rows, the range is starting from R4 and ending at R8. So how many rows are there in this particular range? We have 5 rows. So it's returning the 5 here. Okay. So what we will do, instead of writing the 1 here manually, we will replace this hard-coded number and we will be using now ROS function. Okay. I am excluding the 1 here and I'm using the ROS function. Remember that I have told you you can use any cell reference, for example, P90. I am using P90. You can use A1. Best practices, you can always start with the A1 so that you can do not confuse. But the point was that you can choose any cell either that is empty or filled, that doesn't matter. So I'm using P90 colon P90. So the starting and ending cell will be the same so that it can generate 1, and the first cell should be absolute. And now you can see that by replacing the ROS function instead of that particular hard-coded one, now when I drag down this function, I can get the number of values, different number of values. So this is how the scenario of the duplicates case can be handled within the index and match functions by adding a helper column and utilizing the ROS function. Now, one thing very important, our output is vertical. This output is vertical. If we need output horizontal, so instead of rows, we need to use the columns. Remember that. Okay. So this is the solution. F4 is the shortcut key to change the absolute cell into the relative cell or the mixed referencing. F4 is the shortcut key. Okay. You can also use raw. Yes, Adnan, you are very right. You can also use the raw -4, but make sure that it can be dynamic when you have the large kind of data sets. Okay. Let's proceed to the final example, one more example, where we have 3 different questions. Okay. Now this is also scenario based. So there are 3 questions to this particular data set. The first question is which person made the sales of 1700. Now, which person? Which person means we need the name of a person. So index will give, and 1700 is to identify the location, which is the match function. So the combination of index and match will come together. Okay. But before that, let me tell you one more very smart technique, which you will like, that how to quickly give names to the columns. So there is a very smart technique available in Microsoft Excel, and let me tell you what is that. If I need to give every column a name, and my database has a lot of columns, so it will take a lot of time to give every column a different unique name. So for example, if I have 25 columns, 50 columns in my database, and it will take a lot of time within the large data sets to give a particular name to that column. So I will be using a small utility within the Excel, how to quickly give each particular column a different name. Okay, so understand it very carefully. First, I will select my entire database. Okay, from the titles and the range. I selected the entire database. Then I will go to the formulas tab, and here you can see a feature that is called create from selection. So when you click on create from selection window, you have certain 4 checkboxes, and you just need to check mark on the first option, which is the top row. This means that Excel will automatically create each column name for you, and the type and the name columns will be picking up from the top row. So when I press OK, and then you can go back to the name manager, you can see that within a matter of few seconds, you got all the column names. So instead of doing it manually, selecting every column and defining the name, you can just select the entire database, go to create from selection, and only check mark on top row, and it will, within few seconds, it will create all the column names with a unique names picking up from the top title. Okay, now these names I will be utilizing here in the index and match. So let's get started. Index, we need to find the name of a person. So we don't need to select the entire database. We just need to focus on that particular column, which is the salesperson column. So now you can see that by using the name ranges, it's become very easy that you don't need to go to that particular data set to select it manually again. You can just call the name of this of that range, and automatically you can see the highlighted portion of the salesperson range, right? Now we need a salesperson name, but we need to identify the position of that 1700 within the net sales column. Now that position number will be identified by the match function. So I'm writing here 1700 to find from the lookup value, which is called the net sales. Okay, and that will be the exact match. So now you can see that Faizan has made the 1700 sales here. So the match function identified the position. This is what the match function does. And this Faizan has been fetched by the index. Okay. So this blue color cell positioning has been identified the match function, and within this particular positioning, we have got our desired result with the help of the index function. So this is how we write the index and match. Next question is who made the maximum sales? Now, who made maximum sales means that we need a name of a person. So again, we need to have the salesperson column first, in which we have the desired output. And lookup value has not been given to us, but it's the question is saying that who made the maximum sales. So first we need to identify the maximum sales, max. So we will be adding max function for the net sales column and bracket close. So particularly this max function will first fetch the maximum value within the net sales array, and that particular amount, which is the maximum amount, will be searched in the net sales column again, which is the position number, and which will be the exact. So I am writing 0 here. So Sadiq is the person who has a maximum net sales. So as we can see that the last row, which has the maximum sales, and you can see here this is the max number. All right. And last but not the least, who sold to the minimum number of customers. Okay, so the minimum of customer numbers, we will not be using net sales instead of number of customer range. So I'm just replacing net sales to the number of customers. So Munir is the person who has sold to the minimum number of customers, but let me just, instead of max, I will write the min. Junaid is the person who has sold the minimum number of customers, which is in case 2 here, as you can see here. All right. Now your question will come that if we have a duplicates, if there are 2% who has sold to the minimum number of customers, what we need to do is, now I have told you and explained you very well that you need to again create a helper column, so that does not contain a duplicate, that contains a unique value, and with the combination of index, match, and rows, you have to get all the values in each of the different cells. Okay, so that's kind of a homework for you. If you can create that kind of a duplicate scenario, and you can solve and you can communicate with me on the email. Okay, so one last example, because I have not covered the approximate match within the match function. I need to cover that, and then finally we will be coming to the offset function, inshallah. So let me create a last example for the index and match. For example, we have income brackets, then we have tax percent. Okay, so we have 0, 5,000, 10,000, 15,000, and 20,000. And for that particular income brackets, we have the for example, that's more likely salary brackets. So for that, we have some tax percentages from the government, for example, 2%, then 3%, and then 4%, 5%. All right. What we need to do is we need to find out that if we have an amount, if we have a salary, for example, 12,200, we need to find the tax percent. What will be the tax percent? Okay. So applying the index and match. Now, kindly look at this example very carefully. Index. So index, within the index, we need to identify the array. Array means that particular array set from which we have the output. So we need a text output, which is the C3 to C7 in our case, and we will be using match function. So lookup value will be the salary, which is in E3. Lookup array will be the salary brackets from D3 to B7. And let's suppose if we use 0 here for the exact match, what happens? It gives us NA. So now anyone can tell me that I have applied index and match with the exact match and it's giving me an array. Why is it so? Kindly give your feedback in the chat window, please. Exactly. So Muhammad Ali is very right. Shakil is right. Very good. Very good. So good feedback from you guys. So that this means that this session is going very interactive and you are enjoying this session, I hope. So this means that 12,200 is not exactly available in this first column, which is in salary brackets. So now our data is sorting from the smallest to largest. Okay. So for example, for the smallest to largest, I'm using 1. And I will just correct this percent sign. So positive 1 at the end of lookup type is for those kind of data sets column in which you have sorted the data into smallest to largest. But for the largest to smallest, you will not write 1, you will write -1. Remember that. Okay. And for example, if I write 14,999, it's still giving me 3%. But you will see that 14,999 is very close to this 15,000 and it should be 4% instead of 3%. No, that's not the case, because at the start of this webinar, I have gone through the presentation of the technical side is that when you use 1 for the ascending to descending order, it will stop at the least first point. Definitely, it is searching for the 14,999 as an approximate match, but it always not the closest match. It's definitely stop at the last point. Okay, so this is how you need to understand that if you have some kind of financial data in which you are locating, you are searching for the sales amount, for example, profits amounts, for example, any item from the balance sheet, you will not use exact match. Depends on your data. Either it is set ascending to descending, use 1. And if it's sorted descending to ascending, use -1. Okay, and I have covered this example at the start of my webinar, so you can review that after it will be uploaded on the channels. So now let's come back to the uh, okay, Shakil has a question. Let me sir, we can do this with VLOOKUP approximate match as well. Yes, Shakil, uh, if your data is sorted ascending to descending, you have to use true or 1 in the VLOOKUP. But there is no concept of -1 in the VLOOKUP. So if your data is sorting from largest to smallest, you will be stuck on that point. So you need to make sure that if you are using VLOOKUP and you use true, your data should be sorted ascending to descending, smallest to largest. Okay. Yes, you can calculate the exact journal value, and Mohammed Ali, I have recorded a particular separate video for that topic also, and I will share with all of you as well. Thank you for the question. Okay, now let's